Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take a stack of sources, extract the most powerful insights, and serve them up fresh for you.
That's right.
Today, we're embarking on a truly surprising journey. Picture this. A 9-year-old kid in the suburbs, driven by an almost, obsessive desire to make money selling worms.
Right. So, yeah.
Then follow his path all the way to leading a company that's eventually valued at over $1 billion, only to discover that the money itself was never truly the ultimate goal. It's a winding, often hilarious, and incredibly insightful ride.
It truly is a fascinating path from those early, almost comical entrepreneurial ventures to becoming a titan in e-commerce. Tony Hsieh's story, as laid out in his remarkable book, Delivering Happiness, is far more than just a business case study.
Right.
It's a profound exploration of what truly drives success, what it means to build a thriving culture, and perhaps most importantly, what personal fulfillment looks like when you pursue it with genuine curiosity and, crucially, a willingness to fail.
Absolutely. Our sources for this deep dive are direct excerpts from Tony Hsieh's own candid account. They're packed with personal anecdotes that will make you laugh, some truly surprising facts, and refreshingly honest reflections on both his failures and his triumphs. Our mission today is to extract the most potent lessons from his unique journey. And these aren't just for aspiring entrepreneurs or business leaders. They're incredibly applicable to your daily life, how you approach challenges, how you build meaningful relationships, and how you find genuine satisfaction no matter where you are on your own path.
Indeed. We'll peel back the layers on those quirky childhood ventures that, in hindsight, laid critical groundwork for his future. We'll explore the dramatic pivots he made when things weren't, working as planned.
Yeah.
And the often counterintuitive strategies that ultimately defined his path to purpose. It's a story of constant evolution, relentless learning, and embracing the unexpected, even when it's, painful.
So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
All right, let's unpack this incredible journey, starting right at the very beginning with the early seeds of entrepreneurship and how Tony Hsieh learned through relentless trial and error, sometimes in the most unexpected and messy ways.
Our first stop is a 9-year-old Tony, brimming with an audacious vision. He declared his ambition to become the #1 worm seller in the world.
Wow, at 9.
At 9. Now, think about that for a second. At that age, most kids are dreaming of being astronauts or firefighters, right?
Oh.
Tony was dreaming of worm dominion. He invested a considerable sum for a 9-year-old, a whopping $33.45, to purchase 100 earthworms from a worm farm.
That's serious cash for a kid back then.
Totally. His meticulous preparation involved constructing a worm box in his backyard, complete with chicken wire at the bottom. His grand plan to accelerate reproduction, inspired by what he'd heard about professional athletes, was to feed them raw egg yolks daily.
Raw egg yolks? Really?
Yep. He was applying a theory he'd heard about optimizing performance, but, to worms.
And his parents, with a surprising level of tolerance, actually allowed this venture. Perhaps they figured if the worms were consuming the high cholesterol yolks, their children would be left with the healthier egg whites.
Maybe. But here's where it gets truly fascinating and a little heartbreaking. After a month of this dedicated raw egg yolk diet, Tony dug through the mud, expecting a thriving worm empire. Instead,
Nothing.
Zilch. No baby worms, and even more startling, no adult worms either. Every single one had vanished.
Oh, no.
Either through the chicken wire or, more likely, eaten by birds attracted to those very egg yolks.
So the food source attracted predators. Ouch.
Exactly. It was a complete, comical, and utterly deflating failure for a young entrepreneur.
Wow. That's tough.
It was a spectacular flop, but it highlights a crucial early lesson in entrepreneurship, the stark difference between vision and execution. He had the vision of a worm empire, but he completely missed the execution, risked the fragility of his worm box, the appeal of egg yolks to predators.
Right. The practical details.
This venture, though a failure, was his very first tangible encounter with the harsh realities of bringing an idea to life. He might not have been quoting Gandhi at 9 years old, but the experience underscored a profound truth. Every failure, no matter how small or seemingly silly, is a lesson.
A stepping stone.
Exactly. It's a stepping stone, a data point that informs your next attempt. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, how many times you might let initial setbacks deter us from pursuing a new idea or skill.
Yeah, definitely. What small, seemingly insignificant ventures have you abandoned too quickly because the first attempt didn't pan out perfectly?
This story reminds us that even when our grand plans literally slither away, the experience itself lays groundwork for future, often much grander, successes.
From the soil of the worm farm, we move to a different kind of pressure, navigating parental expectations, which is something I think many of us can deeply relate to.
Oh, absolutely. Tony's parents, deeply influenced by traditional Asian culture, had very specific ideas about what constituted success. Academic excellence was paramount, with Harvard being presented as the ultimate bragging right.
The gold standard.
Totally. Then there were precise career aspirations, becoming a medical doctor, where getting a PhD meant you could ascend from Mr. Hsieh to Dr. Hsieh, a symbol of prestige and achievement.
A lot of pressure there.
Huge pressure. And of course, musical mastery was non-negotiable, particularly on the piano or violin, with mandatory performances at family gatherings.
Oh, the dreaded family performance.
Right. This created a stark contrast between these external, culturally ingrained pressures and Tony's burgeoning internal passions. He was, and I quote, much more interested in running my own business and figuring out different ways to make money.
You can see that entrepreneurial spark already.
Definitely. You can see his innate entrepreneurial spirit emerging even in how he ingeniously circumvented these strict expectations. For instance, to avoid the grueling daily instrument practice an hour per instrument per day throughout the summer.
An hour per instrument. Wow.
Yeah. He figured out a clever workaround. He'd pre-record his practice sessions, then play them back on a tape recorder while he actually read books or worked on his business ideas.
No way. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? His teachers, mystified by his lack of progress, simply concluded he was a slow learner.
Oh, the irony.
It speaks volumes about his desire for freedom and his innovative approach to problem solving, even back then.
It's an incredible story of resourcefulness. This period really showcases his deep-seated desire for autonomy and his inventive approach to navigating life's constraints. Beyond the music workaround, he dove into garage sales, even dressing his younger friend up to look 5 years younger to boost lemonade sales with the cuteness factor.
That's classic kid entrepreneurship.
Right. He launched the Gobbler newsletter, selling it to friends, and then, ever the opportunist, trying to sell ads to local businesses. These early schemes, though not always financial blockbusters, were all about making money and, more profoundly, gaining independence and control over his own time.
That freedom element seems key.
It makes you reflect on your own journey, doesn't it? What external expectations are you navigating in your life or career? How can you find creative, perhaps unconventional, ways to pursue your true interests, even if they don't perfectly align with traditional paths?
It's a great question. Tony's story prompts us to consider what scalable means not just in business, but in our personal growth and learning. Just as he thought about, optimizing his music lessons, even if it was just to get out of them.
Exactly.
And this burgeoning entrepreneurial spirit, fueled by those early successes, sometimes led to a touch of overconfidence. Which brings us to his mail-order magic venture.
Ah, yes, the magic trick business.
His previous button-making business, inspired by an ad in Free Stuff for Kids magazine, had been a quiet but steady success. He'd buy the parts for 25 cents, sell the finished buttons for a 75-cent profit.
Nice margin.
Pretty good. And he even outsourced the labor to his younger brothers for a commission, pulling in a consistent $200 a month in middle school. This venture, operating entirely through mail order without face-to-face interaction, taught him early principles of scalability, how to grow revenue without proportionally increasing effort, and also the power of systems.
He was already thinking about efficiency.
Right. He even used a secret code mailing address, DEPT FSFK, for his business. Clever stuff.
He genuinely felt like the invincible king of mail order after that. So, armed with this considerable confidence, he plunged into a magic trick mail order business.
Okay.
The trip itself was quite clever. A coin dissolving through rubber, a visual illusion made possible by dental dams, which he could buy for less than 20 cents a piece in bulk.
Dental dams.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. High margins, though.
Exactly. He saw the potential for incredibly high gross margins and profitability. He invested a substantial $800 in an advertisement in Boys Life magazine, pricing the trick at $10.
Wow, $800 is a lot for a kid. That's like a lot of buttons.
It really was. He reasoned that if he just got 80 orders, he'd break even. His dreams quickly escalated to profits of over $2,000 if he hit 300 orders, realizing the sheer beauty, as he put it, of high average selling prices combined with high gross margins. It seemed almost too easy to be true.
Uh-oh. Famous last words in business, right?
Yeah.
Too easy to be true.
And unfortunately, it was. Too easy for it to actually work out. The stark reality was brutal. He received only one order.
One, after spending $800. Ouch.
Just one. The $800 ad cost represented a truly painful, expensive lesson. He explicitly recalls learning the term hubris in his Greek history class around this time, defining it as an exaggerated sense of pride or self-confidence.
Fitting. Very fitting.
This spectacular failure, which was the equivalent of 24 worm farms in terms of investment and dashed hopes, taught him a profound lesson in humility and the dangers of betting the farm without proper validation or market testing.
It really makes you consider, doesn't it? When have you felt invincible after a success only to be sharply humbled by a subsequent failure?
Definitely hits home.
How do we cultivate humility and genuinely learn from our losses without losing that adventurous spirit that drives us to try new things?
It's a tough balance.
And this raises an important question. Is success always replicable? Or is luck a more significant factor than we often care to admit, especially in those early wins?
That's a powerful and relatable point. Moving on from his early, sometimes painful ventures, let's explore his college years at Harvard and his subsequent brief stint at Oracle, which marked significant shifts in his understanding of what truly constitutes success and personal fulfillment.
His time at Harvard definitely continued to showcase his innovative problem-solving and entrepreneurial flair. Faced with a Bible class final where he hadn't attended any classes or read a single textbook.
Uh-oh. Sounds familiar for some students.
Right. A familiar predicament, I imagine. Tony, ever the resourceful entrepreneur, leveraged the then-new electronic news groups. He crowdsourced a comprehensive study guide.
How did he manage that?
He assigned 3 out of 100 possible topics to other students taking the class. They'd email him their summarized paragraphs, and he would compile them into complete study binders, which he then sold for $20 each.
Genius. He outsourced the studying.
Pretty much. He famously didn't open a single textbook or read a single paragraph himself, yet he ended up with arguably the most comprehensive study guide, made a tidy profit, and even got a story written about his virtual study group experiment in the Harvard Crimson newspaper.
That's incredible. Pure hustle.
It's a classic example of thinking outside the box, prioritizing efficiency and results over conventional effort, and brilliantly leveraging collective intelligence.
It makes you think. Where in your own life or work can you apply the concept of crowdsourcing or creative collaboration to achieve a better outcome with less direct effort?
What seemingly impossible or daunting tasks could be tackled by simply thinking outside the box and inviting others to contribute? The answer might surprise you.
His next college venture, taking over the Quincy House Grill with his roommate Sanjay, further honed his business acumen and introduced him to the concept of arbitrage.
Ah, the grill. Good story here.
A quirky city ordinance prevented traditional fast food establishments from opening directly near the Harvard campus, creating a vacuum of convenient late-night food options. Tony immediately identified this market opportunity.
Saw the gap.
Exactly. His initial plan involved taking the subway off campus, buying 100 frozen McDonald's patties for $1 each, then hauling them back to the dorm via taxi and selling them for $3.
Pure arbitrage. Buy low, sell high. Simple but effective.
Right. This high-margin venture quickly led them to invest $2,000 in pizza ovens for an even higher-margin pizza business, where a large pizza cost less than $2 to make but could sell for $10 or more.
Now we're talking real profit. Pizza's always a winner on campus.
Definitely. And it was here, in this bustling college grill, that he met Alfred Lin, who would later become Zappos' CFO and COO.
Alfred. The connection begins.
Alfred was Tony's #1 customer, ordering entire pepperoni pizzas every single night. Tony, for the longest time, simply thought, wow, this boy can eat. He's a human trash compactor.
Understandable assumption.
He even nicknamed Alfred Monster for his seemingly insatiable appetite. But years later, Tony discovered Alfred wasn't just eating them.
Oh, what was he doing?
He was taking the pizzas upstairs and reselling them by the slice to his roommates, essentially earning 10 times more money per hour than Tony was, despite Tony earning more total money from the business.
Arbitrage on the arbitrage. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? This anecdote brilliantly highlights how different perspectives can find even more value in an existing system, and how seemingly simple transactions can lead to unexpected, incredibly long-term partnerships.
It really prompts us to consider, where are the arbitrage opportunities in your life or career? Can you identify unmet needs or inefficiencies that you can leverage creatively?
And how can seemingly straightforward interactions lead to unexpected and profoundly valuable long-term partnerships, just like Tony and Alfred's?
Great points. So after college, Tony, like many graduates, sought a high-paying job. He settled on Oracle, a prestigious tech company.
Got the good job.
Exactly. He achieved his goal, making more money than his roommates with seemingly minimal effort. His daily routine was almost comically relaxed. He'd arrive around 10 a.m., spend a mere 5 minutes setting up an automated test that would then run for 3 hours.
5 minutes of work.
Pretty much. Enjoy a long lunch, often take a nap, and then leave by 4 p.m. He was making good money for almost no actual work.
This sounds like an absolute dream job for many people, doesn't it? Easy money, incredibly short hours, minimal stress.
On paper, yes. But here's where it gets truly pivotal. This easy money quickly led to profound boredom and a deep, gnawing sense of unfulfillment.
The golden handcuffs weren't so golden after all.
Exactly. He quickly realized that money alone simply does not equate to happiness or purpose. His desire for control and meaningful work began to powerfully outweigh financial comfort.
That realization is huge.
It really is. He even describes increasingly nervous and humorous attempts to resign, trying to catch his boss at the right moment or even in the right bathroom, just to tell him he was leaving.
Trying to quit was harder than the job itself.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Eventually, both he and Sanjay quit. This was a critical turning point in his life. Realizing what doesn't make you happy is often just as important, if not more so, than knowing what does.
That's such a key insight. It raises an important question for you listening. Are you, perhaps unknowingly, chasing a definition of success that might ultimately lead to boredom or unfulfillment?
How important is passion and control over your own destiny compared to the allure of financial security alone? At what point does easy money become too high a price to pay for your time and energy for your sense of purpose?
It's a profound question that many grapple with, often only after achieving the financial success they thought they wanted.
Right. And this deep dissatisfaction at Oracle propelled Tony into his next venture, Link Exchange, which, despite its massive financial success, offered him a crucial and painful lesson about the absolute criticality of company culture.
Link Exchange was truly born out of that Oracle-induced boredom. It was a remarkably simple idea, initially developed over a weekend: offer free banner ads for websites in exchange for those websites displaying other Link Exchange members' ads.
A brilliant self-perpetuating system. Viral before viral is really a thing.
Exactly. It grew organically and rapidly. They received a $1 million acquisition offer, which they surprisingly turned down, then a $20 million offer from Yahoo, which they also initially dismissed as too low.
Turning down $20 million. Bold.
Before eventually selling to Microsoft for a staggering $265 million.
Wow. Okay, so financially, a home run.
Huge home run. But Tony describes the company culture as rapidly deteriorating. It became less about innovation and more about politics, positioning, and rumors.
The dark side of rapid growth.
He chillingly called it death by 1,000 paper cuts. He realized, perhaps for the first time, that even immense financial gains felt like drudgery without a positive, collaborative culture.
That's a powerful realization after such a big win.
A vivid, almost humorous example of their initial culture, which later became a symbol of its challenges, was the hazing tradition for new hires. They would be told to wear suits for a fake, highly important meeting, only to arrive and find the rest of the company dressed casually.
Oh, that old trick.
Then they'd be called to the front of the room to perform an embarrassing task. Even Michael Moritz, a very proper British venture capitalist from Sequoia Capital, found himself doing the Macarena at one of these initiation meetings.
Michael Moritz doing the Macarena, that's quite an image. While funny, it highlighted a growing disconnect, maybe.
Exactly. The humor in that anecdote definitely hides a serious point. It taught Tony that while organic growth and customer responsiveness can certainly lead to massive financial success, money truly doesn't solve everything, and a deteriorating culture can, indeed, undermine everything.
A lesson many companies learn the hard way.
It's a powerful lesson that many businesses learn too late. It makes you reflect on your own experiences, doesn't it? How does culture impact your work environment?
What are the subtle, perhaps seemingly small signs that a team's spirit or cohesion might be eroding?
So what does this all truly mean for prioritizing soft aspects like culture and employee well-being alongside hard metrics like profit and growth?
Tony learned that the soft stuff often defines the long-term hard success. And that hard-won learning about culture was absolutely pivotal for Zappos.
Right. So Zappos. Initially, Tony had completely dismissed Nick Swinmurne's idea for ShoeSite.com, which would later become Zappos.
He thought it was a terrible idea at first, didn't he?
Totally. He envisioned it as the poster child of bad internet ideas. His reasoning was simple. He couldn't imagine people buying shoes online without trying them on first.
Common sentiment back then.
However, Nick's persistent pitch, backed by statistics, made him reconsider. Nick pointed out that the footwear industry in the U.S. was a $40 billion market. And crucially, 5% of those sales, which amounted to $2 billion annually, were already happening through mail-order catalogs.
Ah, the data. People were buying shoes sight unseen.
That simple fact changed everything. So he pivoted his thinking and ultimately made a massive personal risk.
This is where it gets really intense.
Despite his initial skepticism and a dire lack of funding for Zappos, Tony eventually invested incredibly heavily, even going so far as to sell his personal properties, including his beloved party loft in San Francisco, to keep the company afloat during its toughest times.
Selling the party loft, that's commitment. He really went all in.
He really did. This willingness to truly bet the farm on a vision he came to believe in was absolutely critical. What was also critical was the strategic shift from a dropship model.
Well, they didn't hold inventory.
Right. Where Zappos didn't hold any inventory and simply forwarded orders to manufacturers, to actually owning and managing their own inventory. This was a high-stakes decision, spurred by Fred's insight that to get the best-selling, most desirable brands, they had to hold inventory themselves.
That's a huge operational shift. Very risky. That daunting list of challenges that came with holding inventory was immense. They needed to hire experienced buyers, convince traditional shoe brands that only sold to brick-and-mortar stores to work with an online retailer.
A big hurdle back then.
It's huge. Plus, build and manage a warehouse, handle the enormous cash flow demands of inventory, and even open a small physical store.
They had to get really creative.
Incredibly creative. Their solutions were amazing. They turned the reception area into a makeshift store to impress brands, and later, they actually bought a small mom-and-pop shoe shop in a tiny town called Willows, California, just to gain access to more brands through that established relationship.
Buying a whole store just for the brand relationships? Wow.
Yeah. And narrating the fire sale of Tony's properties, including that iconic party loft, truly highlights the extreme stress, the immense sacrifice, and the sheer personal belief involved in keeping Zappos alive.
It makes you think. What bad ideas have you dismissed that might have hidden potential if you looked at them with fresh eyes or with new data?
Are you willing to make significant sacrifices for something you deeply believe in, for a vision that you feel passionate about? What's truly fascinating here is the sheer courage required to pivot a fundamental business model when facing imminent failure, and to back that pivot with everything you have.
That leads perfectly into how Tony applied lessons he learned from his passion for poker to the world of business, particularly the concept of changing tables.
Ah, the poker analogy. I love this part.
In poker, he observed that the most important decision isn't necessarily how flawlessly you play your hand, but rather table selection, choosing the right game to be in, or more powerfully, defining your own game.
Right. It's not just about playing well. It's about playing in the right game for you. He realized that in business, you don't have to sit at an existing hyper-competitive table. You have the power to create your own unique table.
Exactly. He uses the brilliant example of Southwest Airlines. They didn't just compete for existing airline travelers by offering slightly cheaper fares.
No, they went broader. They redefined their market to include people who typically travel by bus or train, offering incredibly short, cheap flights and easy changes. This allowed them to play at a fundamentally different table where they had a distinct advantage.
Brilliant strategy. So how did Zappos apply this?
Zappos applied this by deciding to strategically focus on delivering wow customer service and building deep, lasting relationships with vendors, rather than simply competing on price, which was just a race to the bottom.
That was their strategic table change.
Precisely. They embraced counterintuitive practices. They put their actual phone number at the very top of every single web page.
Which nobody did back then. Everyone hid their phone number.
Exactly. They staffed their call center 24/7 with empowered agents, offered surprise overnight shipping upgrades without charging the customer, and even, remarkably, referred customers to competitors if they were out of stock on a particular item.
Sending customers to competitors, that takes guts.
It does. But they viewed every single customer interaction, even a phone call, not as a cost center, but as a priceless branding and relationship-building opportunity.
And they extended this philosophy to their vendor relationships, treating them as true partners, which was almost unheard of in the traditional retail world.
Totally different approach. They built a secure extranet, giving vendors unprecedented visibility into their sales data and inventory levels, fostering transparency. Zappos executives would even pick up the dinner check for vendors.
Wait, Zappos paid for the vendors' dinners? Usually it's the other way around.
Right. An almost unheard of gesture of hospitality and respect in retail. They even had a friendly competition with vendors to see who could grab the check first at the end of a meal.
That's amazing. Building real partnerships.
These were not just social events. Real business discussions, like entering the eyewear category, happened in these environments of trust. It's about thinking far beyond the immediate transaction to the long-term lifetime value of a customer or partner.
It prompts us to consider, are you playing at the right table in your own endeavors, whether in your career, your personal projects, or your relationships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you redefine your market or powerfully differentiate yourself beyond just price or immediate gain? What's truly fascinating here is how focusing on seemingly inefficient or soft things like exceptional customer service and genuine relationships can lead to profound long-term competitive advantage and ultimately sustained success.
This relentless, almost obsessive focus on people and culture also led to another incredibly counterintuitive and high-stakes move, relocating the entire Zappos headquarters from the vibrant hub of San Francisco to, wait for it, Las Vegas.
Vegas. Yeah, that was a shocker for a lot of people.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, Zappos struggled to find and retain people who viewed customer service as a long-term, meaningful career.
It wasn't seen as a career job there?
Not really. Not in the same way. Tony had a profound realization. If customer service was truly going to be their brand, it needed to be the entire company, not just a single department confined to a call center. It had to permeate every single aspect of the organization.
So they made the audacious decision to move the whole operation. As you can imagine, the initial reaction from employees was, to put it mildly, intense.
Oh, I bet. Many of them thought, hell no, I'm not moving to Las Vegas. It was a city notorious for tourism and entertainment, not exactly a burgeoning tech hub for young professionals.
It's not the obvious choice.
Not at all. But because of the incredibly strong relationships, deep trust, and genuine friendships that had already been forged among the employees, many eventually made the leap, despite their initial reservations.
The existing culture helped them make the move.
Absolutely. The move, perhaps inadvertently, fostered an even stronger, more unique company culture because employees, having few existing friends or family outside Zappos in Vegas, were, as Tony put it, forced to hang out with each other outside the office.
It created a kind of instant community.
It truly created an automatic friends and family network, leading to Zappos' incredibly unique and tight-knit social dynamic. This highlights the profound impact of environment on culture and team cohesion.
Right. It wasn't accidental.
Exactly. It underscores that culture isn't something that happens by accident. It's something to be consciously cultivated, strategically invested in, and nurtured with intention.
It makes you think, doesn't it? How can you intentionally foster a stronger tribe or community in your own life or work?
What unexpected, even initially uncomfortable benefits can come from stepping outside your comfort zone or embracing a new environment. Sometimes disruption can be the catalyst for deeper connection.
To make this powerful culture concrete and, more importantly, committable, Zappos formalized it into 10 core values.
The famous core values.
These weren't just fluffy platitudes or mission statement jargon on a wall. They were actionable principles they were genuinely willing to hire and fire based on.
That's the key, right? Committable, not just aspirational.
Absolutely. This framework became the absolute bedrock of Zappos' unique identity and enduring success, ensuring a consistency in values that shaped both their brand and their exceptional performance.
Let's really delve into a few of these values because they truly showcase how Zappos walk the talk and how these principles can be applied far beyond a corporate setting.
Great idea. First up, deliver wow through service. This wasn't just for the customer service department, it was a company-wide philosophy, meaning every single employee, regardless of their role, was empowered to create those wow moments.
Everyone was a brand ambassador.
Exactly. There's a fantastic anecdote about a Zappos employee named Martha who, while shopping at Walgreens, found herself spontaneously paying for an older gentleman's items. Instead of saying, it's a random act of kindness, she heard herself say, it's a random act of wowness.
It just came out naturally.
It did. The cashier was so intrigued that he wrote down her name, later remembered her, and told her he'd been spreading the idea of random acts of wow and kindness because of her.
Wow, that's credible ripple effect. It illustrates how deeply embedded the value was. Zappos employees became brand ambassadors in their daily lives, spreading the spirit of going above and beyond.
For you listening, this prompts a powerful question. How can you make wow a verb in your daily interactions, not just at work, but with friends, family, or even strangers?
How can you go genuinely above and beyond expectations for those around you, creating those lasting positive memories and experiences that resonate?
Another crucial value was embrace and drive change. This principle meant fostering constant evolution, with innovation often encouraged and driven from the bottom up, not just dictated from the top.
Getting ideas from everyone.
When Zappos needed to hire a large volume of customer loyalty team representatives quickly, Tony had what seemed like a crazy idea: speed dating for hiring.
Speed dating for jobs. Seriously.
Seriously. Instead of traditional lengthy interviews, candidates would meet with 6 different Zappos employees for 5 minutes each. It sounds unconventional, perhaps even chaotic, but it proved incredibly effective at quickly assessing cultural fit and identifying individuals who embodied the Zappos spirit.
That's amazing. It's a powerful lesson in organizational agility and open-mindedness. It challenges us to consider, are you resistant to change, or do you actively seek it out and even drive it in your own life or work?
Yeah, are you embracing it or fighting it?
How can you encourage and empower change from the front lines of your own experiences, recognizing that truly great ideas and solutions can come from anywhere, not just from designated leaders or traditional hierarchies?
Then there's create fun and a little weirdness.
My personal favorite.
This core value actively encouraged thinking outside the box, fostered creativity, and made the workplace a genuinely enjoyable place to be. The Timmy live chat transcript is a perfect, hilarious example.
Well, the Timmy chat. Tell us about it.
A customer, using the alias Timmy, started a chat asking about a watch for his big fat wrist, and then, as a quirky request, insisted the Zappos representative, Jonathan, talk about Timmy in the third person to boost his ego.
Okay, that is weird. How did Jonathan handle it?
Jonathan, without skipping a beat, fully embraced the unusual request, responding with lines like, "Jonathan would be happy to neglect the use of pronouns for the duration of this conversation for Timmy's ultimate satisfaction."
That's fantastic. This kind of personalized, witty, and deeply human interaction is what creates truly memorable customer experiences that go far beyond a simple transaction.
It's not just service, it's personality, it's connection.
Exactly. It encourages us to think. How can you inject more personality, more humor, and a touch of genuine weirdness into your own work or personal life to make it more engaging, more authentic, and more joyful for yourself and for others?
Be yourself, basically.
Yeah. It's about being true to yourself and finding joy in those daily interactions, no matter how mundane they might seem.
Do more with less speaks directly to operational excellence, continuous improvement, and the profound ability to use mistakes and constraints as invaluable learning opportunities.
Resourcefulness.
Exactly. Vanessa, a Zappos employee, shared a powerful personal story about facing Christmas with no money, no family, and nowhere to go. Instead of despairing to still experience the holidays, she decided to buy one small holiday item every day until Christmas Eve, and then cook a little feast.
Wow, that's incredibly resilient. She found incredibly creative ways to do more with less in her personal life, illustrating a mindset of resourcefulness and resilience.
This mindset translates directly and powerfully to business and personal challenges. When facing constraints, whether it's limited resources, time, or energy, how can you find creative and resourceful ways to achieve your goals?
Roadblocks aren't dead ends. They're truly welcome challenges that force you to innovate, think differently, and grow. It's about discovering the incredible amount of ways to get things done, even when traditional resources are scarce, transforming limitations into opportunities.
Be passionate and determined is about the internal fuel that drives both self and company forward, sustaining effort through challenges.
The grit factor.
Precisely. There's a story of a couple who, despite being deeply in debt and feeling overwhelmed, committed to saving just $25 a month towards a house.
Just $25. That seems so small.
It does, but this seemingly tiny, consistent action, fueled by their unwavering determination and passion for a better future, slowly but surely led them to pay off all their bills, buy a new home, and eventually, years later, even purchase a boat.
That's incredible. It powerfully illustrates the immense, often underestimated, power of routine, consistency, and sustained effort, even with seemingly small steps. It's not about grand gestures, but persistent small ones.
What seemingly small, consistent actions can you identify and take, fueled by your own passion and determination to achieve your long-term goals, whether they're financial, personal, or professional?
It raises an important question about the cumulative effect of daily, deliberate effort over time and how much it can truly compound into remarkable outcomes.
Finally, let's look at be humble. This core value is about quiet confidence, intellectual curiosity, and treating everyone with respect, regardless of their status or position.
Not about false modesty, but genuine respect.
Right. Fred Lin, Zappos' COO, shared his experience at Nordstrom, noting that nice guys who always came out on top. This resonated deeply with Zappos' philosophy. At Zappos, they actively practice humility and respect by consistently picking up the dinner check for vendors.
We mentioned that earlier, still amazing. An almost unheard of gesture of hospitality and partnership in the often cutthroat retail industry. They even had that friendly competition with vendors to see who could grab the check first at the end of a meal, making it a wow experience for the vendors themselves.
It's a powerful gesture that builds strong, lasting relationships and transforms transactions into genuine partnerships.
It makes us consider, how do you truly demonstrate humility in your successes, acknowledging contributions from others and staying grounded?
How do you treat everyone you encounter, regardless of their status or apparent influence, with genuine respect and a sincere desire to build positive relationships?
It's about valuing the human connection and the dignity of others above all else, recognizing that true strength often lies in quiet confidence and mutual respect.
Beyond these 10 committable core values, Zappos developed what they called a pipeline philosophy for talent development.
Growing people internally.
Exactly. Instead of viewing individuals as static assets that are either lost when they leave or simply outgrown as the company expands, Zappos focuses on building a continuous pipeline of talent, investing deeply in people.
Their vision, remarkably, is for almost all hires to be entry-level, with the company providing extensive training, mentorship, and opportunities to enable employees to grow organically into senior roles within 5 to 7 years.
That's a long-term investment in people.
Huge investment. A prime example of this commitment. All headquarters hires, regardless of their department or title, whether they're an accountant, a software developer, or a marketing specialist, go through the exact same rigorous 4-week customer service training.
Everyone. Even the CFO.
Everyone. This includes 2 full weeks actually taking calls from real customers. It's about grounding everyone in the core mission.
And here's the ultimate kicker, the truly counterintuitive move that cements their cultural commitment. At the end of the first week of that intensive customer service training, Zappos offers everyone a significant amount of money, $2,000 to quit.
They pay people to leave. Why?
This strategy is designed to rigorously ensure cultural fit and a deep, empathetic understanding of the customer experience across all departments. They want people who want to be there for the right reasons.
And do people take the money?
The incredible part, less than 1% of people actually take that offer.
Wow. That's powerful proof.
It serves as powerful proof that those who stay are truly there for more than just a paycheck. They are deeply committed to the long-term vision, the unique culture, and the shared purpose. They even foster internal relationships with the face game, where employees log in by identifying a randomly selected employee's photo, building a stronger internal community.
Little things that build connection. This demonstrates a profound long-term investment in people and culture over short-term gains or immediate productivity. It pushes us to ask, how can you invest in your own pipeline of learning and development?
Right. What new challenges or seemingly tangential experiences can you embrace to broaden your skill set and understanding, even if it's outside your direct job function, much like a software developer learning to handle customer calls?
It's about embracing continuous growth and understanding that true expertise often comes from unexpected cross-disciplinary experiences.
Ultimately, Tony Hsieh's entire journey culminated in Zappos' overarching vision of delivering happiness to the world.
Bringing it all together.
He arrived at this profound understanding by repeatedly performing his why exercise. This involved asking himself why, multiple times about a goal or desire, digging deeper and deeper until he reached a fundamental core desire, which he found was almost always happiness.
Asking why until you can't anymore. He realized, quite profoundly, that money itself doesn't bring sustained happiness. He often referenced studies on lottery winners, whose happiness levels, after an initial spike, often revert to their baseline within a year of winning.
The hedonic treadmill.
Exactly. This led him to the powerful insight that simply achieving a goal, whether it's making money, getting married, or running faster, doesn't necessarily bring sustained happiness or fulfillment. The pursuit is often more rewarding than the attainment.
He draws a brilliant analogy to marathon training. Research shows the best way to train for a marathon isn't to run hard every single day, trying to push your fastest pace.
Counterintuitive, right?
Very. Instead, it's to do long runs at a slower, more comfortable pace than you'd actually run the marathon. Slow enough, in fact, to comfortably carry on a long conversation. This seems counterintuitive for speed, but it builds endurance and leads to better overall performance and less burnout.
Run slow to run fast, essentially. Similarly, he believed that the path to sustained happiness and to building a truly great long-term company lies in integrating what he calls the fractal concept of pleasure, passion, and purpose.
Explain that fractal concept.
This fractal concept means that these three elements, pleasure, enjoyment, passion, engagement, and purpose, meaning, should be present and integrated at every level of your life and work, replicating that pattern, much like a fractal pattern repeats itself at different scales.
So not just in the big picture, but in the day-to-day.
Exactly. From the smallest daily task to your overarching life goals, these elements should be interwoven. This is the culmination of his journey, shifting from profits as an end goal to happiness as the organizing principle for both business and life itself. It suggests that these counterintuitive, deeply human approaches can indeed lead to deeper, more sustained fulfillment and remarkable success.
It makes you reflect, doesn't it? What is your ultimate why? Are you perhaps chasing something that research suggests might not lead to sustained happiness in the long run?
How can you consciously and deliberately integrate pleasure, passion, and purpose into your daily life and work, not just as abstract concepts, but as actionable principles? This isn't just about what you do, it's about how you live and how that impacts everything around you.
We've seen how Tony Hsieh's extraordinary journey, from those quirky childhood ventures to leading Zappos to legendary status, was a continuous deep dive into what truly makes businesses and people not just survive, but truly thrive.
It really was a journey of discovery.
It's a story defined by unconventional thinking, a courageous willingness to embrace failure as an invaluable learning tool, an unwavering commitment to prioritizing culture and human connection above all else, and ultimately the profound understanding that the genuine pursuit of happiness for employees, for customers, and for oneself is the most sustainable and profoundly fulfilling path to success.
Tony Hsieh's story reminds us that life isn't about passively finding yourself. It's about actively creating yourself, crafting your unique path with intention.
Creating yourself. I like that.
And in that ongoing creation, there's immense power in understanding that the journey of building something meaningful, of truly connecting with others, and of consistently choosing what feels purposeful, even when it's challenging, is often far, far more rewarding than simply reaching a final destination.
So as you reflect on Tony's remarkable path, consider, what universe will you envision, create, and believe in next, letting your deepest passions genuinely guide your way?